It's a true honor to receive one of the leading innovators in the field of augmented reality, and also the one and only owner of a mobile volumetric capture studio, this is super hard to say, in the world, Natasja Paulssen, who will talk about the possibilities of applications of this technology in the media industry. So thank you very much, Natasja, for your presence. And also, I would like to say that we will keep 5 minutes just after her presentation for your questions. So please feel free to ask for the microphone, and then the microphone will come to you. Thank you, Natasja.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so I arrived here this afternoon, and I already had some interesting discussions on content and news and the ethic table being empty. Is there no ethics here? Actually, there was this discussion about, should we keep together ethics and funding, or should we split it? We split it, so then ethics was left behind. Do we need to worry? I hope not. Anyhow, so I'm really glad to be here. This is actually my second time in Switzerland. The last one was last February at the EBU convention. And I want to talk a little bit about real people in virtual worlds today. And real people could mean anything, right? It could mean like you and me meeting each other in a virtual place. I'm not going to talk about that. Could be real people versus AI-generated people. I'm not going to talk about that as well. So what's left then? I want to talk about representing real people in virtual worlds. How can we do that? And is that a thing? Thank you. So, real people in virtual worlds. Okay, sorry about that. That's my studio. And I ended up owning one because I'm a little bit hard-headed. I started in augmented reality 12 years ago because I wanted to tell stories, and augmented reality gave me the opportunity of the internet coming out of the computer and taking place in the world around us. And I could tell stories in the world around us. But telling stories, I needed people. And augmented reality, the real world, is a 3D world. And we didn't have 3D people. So then somebody in my team said, well, look at this video, look at this, this is interesting. And this was a video of somebody who was being filmed while holding a mobile phone. And in that mobile phone, you saw a person that wasn't really there. He was augmented. But the person was walking around the person not being there. And I'm like, how did they film this? How can you film somebody who isn't there and have the user be the cameraman? Because you can't have all the angles, camera angles. So like, my mind was hurting. It turned out to be volumetric video. So I thought, okay, I want to tell these stories using these real people. So I need to have this technology in the Netherlands, which, by the way, I'm from. So that ended up 1.5 years later in this studio that you see here. You also see the one thing that we can't film, smoke. But this was during the opening, so it gave a nice picture. So why do we need real people in immersive experiences? Well, yay. People can best be convinced by other people. And this holds true even for the younger generation, which we were talking about just a couple of minutes ago. The new generation in the Netherlands, it just came out a research that 25% of people trust politicians, compared to the states that might be high. 40% of people trust media. 66% of people in the Netherlands trust each other, which is high. So we need real people. If we want to tell stories, and we want to tell stories, we want to share information, we want to convince other people of things, we want to entertain, we want to do all lots of stuff, We need other people in there. I don't know, I'm always guessing that everybody knows this, but I keep putting it in my presentations because it helps a lot to tell about the technology of recreating people, that if you represent people, it can become uncanny. And the thing is that there's this uncanny valley where the trust that people have in the representation of a person that they see drops. So when it becomes more like a real person, the trust drops until you go over that uncanny valley, and then suddenly it becomes sky high. So this is why in current virtual worlds we might, want to converse with avatars that are not lifelike, and we have some trust in them. But once they get better, the trust will drop. This is what this theory is telling us. So we can predict that we have to manage the gap again. I looked up Bunraku puppets, by the way. I didn't know them. They are excellent. So if you don't know them, Google them afterwards. So I can tell a lot about virtual, real people, but I want you to try. Because there's a difference between somebody talking about real people in virtual worlds and you seeing them for yourselves. And you might think, that's not possible today. Well, not on a normal day, but today it is. I should have taken my phone so I could have a picture of everybody scanning that QR code. It's one of the benefits of COVID, right? You don't have to explain what a QR code is anymore. You're too far away? Oh, that's... Oh, Bing doesn't take it, yeah. I can't vote for Microsoft, this is other technology. Microsoft actually killed all development in volumetric video last February. Which is good for me because we use other technology. So do some people already see the little man walking on their knee? Yeah. Does somebody wave when they have him? And we can continue. Otherwise, I will put this slide on at the end so you can try again. Too difficult to download? No. Please tell me no. It's a bit, okay. All right, I'll just talk a little bit more then. So there are basically 3 ways to recreate real people. You could, okay, I'm just going to talk 1 minute about the meta-humans. You can create really lifelike humans from nothing. But that's not recreating me. So if you want to recreate real people, me with my wrinkles and things I don't want to remember, then that's hard for computers to do. I've seen AI-generated Messi, the football player, and he doesn't look like Messi at all. He looks like a person, but he's not Messi anymore because the way Messi moves is really, really important. And what we found in our research is that the movement is more important than the image quality when you are recreating people. And actually, we already knew this, right? In the 70s, people were also watching television. And image quality has way improved. So movement is more important than image quality in accepting people. I have examples of all. I'm guessing you know this one. You all look a bit green now. My favorite color. Unfortunately, it's in Dutch. All my examples are in Dutch. I'm sorry.
Donderdag 5 oktober. En de slag bij Overloon is in volle gang.
Key,
Het regent letterlijk bommen.
You have to think up ways if you are telling them, right, in augmented reality, if you're telling the story in augmented reality, you have to think up a way to work around the images being 2D. So in this case, we put up a background behind them. So even when you start moving as a consumer of the story, as a listener or as a user, actor, whatever, you don't really feel that it's 2D. But we have tons of tricks to work around it, but you're still working around something, and in the end, you don't want to do that. Now, you have motion capture. I don't have a live example of that one because we don't do it. I have been told that it's a lot of work to, in post-production, use the motion to recreate the real person. And I can imagine that, but I have no experience with it because, yes, this is capturing the motion, but it's only capturing the motion of the bones where you put the white dots. And I use so many more muscles. So you can't capture all of them. You can't capture the entire motion. You can't capture like every smile on my face. You need more to be able to do that. And that's where comes in volumetric. And volumetric, in this case, it looks like a green screen, but it isn't. It's actually a bad choice that we made to go for green, because it could have been any color. What we do is in the beginning of a volumetric capture shoot, you take a recording of the background and the software takes out the background. So you are left with the person that is standing in the middle. I thought I would have just managed the gap. This is a story that you can also download. It's an app called Brabant Remembers. It's telling stories on the locations where stuff actually happened. So location-based storytelling is a real thing. It's one of the big use cases of augmented reality. Anyhow, what I also want to do today is to not sketch like an idea that could happen in the future. I want to show you how you can use these type of technologies today already in media. If you look at the overview of market for AR and VR, so this is like from the EU last year, you see that media and entertainment is 20% already of all use cases in AR and VR. And if you look into the use cases for volumetric capture or volcap, sports event and entertainment are 36%. I kind of wanted to know if they matched these two different researchers. And I made this mapping. Sort of works if you agree that gaming is in sports event and entertainment, and media and entertainment, of course, maps to sports event and entertainment. Media is also sports. Yeah, part of it. Retail sort of covers signage and advertisement. Yeah. So there are differences, but also similar things. The thing is, volumetric video, and this was my big surprise, can be used for more than 3D media. So I started this volumetric capture studio. This is a technology in the Netherlands, small market, that nobody had ever seen. So nobody had any experience. So I'm like, how am I going to organize this, right? How am I going to be a successful business? How am I not going to drown after the first year? So I thought I will take my marketing budget, and this is talking about funding a little bit. I take my marketing budget and I put it up as co-financing for a research program. So that marketing budget in the end got not tripled, like times 5, 6, 7, 8. No, 15 in the end. Because my marketing budget, then there's this research budget in the region of Eindhoven where we are situated. So that doubled it. Then the national program said, oh, that's an interesting economic innovation. We will double that again. Then we asked of the AR and VR developers in the Netherlands, would you want to experiment with this type of technology? You can come to us and experiment. And they put in all their own hours, which counted as co-financing. So on that co-financing, we got another grant. So now we are talking 1.5 million euros. And that all started from one company giving up their marketing budget. In the end, for the company, 40 Studios, it delivered 20 professional projects that we could share, very important, with use cases of when to use full cup and when not to use full cup. So also it provided a lot of research data that we are still building on. And of those 20 projects, 11 already have additional funding to do more, for which they come back to us because they need more volumetric video. So that a little bit about funding.
Do something to you that I did to the Soulberry kid. Do something to you that I did to the Soulberry kid.
So this is, I don't know if we can stop the audio because it will loop for a while. This is a project by Ule, which I also heard earlier today. And Ule has this true crime documentary, and they wanted to see if they could do a true crime documentary in augmented reality. So they had this murder happen in Finland in 1914, I think. It was all about the shoes, which is actually, you know, today you could still be murdered for wearing expensive Nike shoes. So nothing happened over 100 years there. But in this case, it had a huge impact in Finland, and now they still want to tell this story because it's still important today. And in the beginning, when we started, you have to know that with volumetric video, we couldn't do a thing. We could just record it and play it. We had no cut and paste. We had no loop. We had nothing. We had no tools at all. So this research project was also about finding out how to develop the tooling to edit volumetric video. And they were one of the first projects. When they created this, the augmented reality version didn't work, so they had to create a game. And now, only 1 year later, we can already do it in augmented reality as well. So that's going live next week in Finland. And why is Ule interested in that? That's because Netflix just launched games on that platform. And there's actually a crime game on there that you can do if you want to try. Be my guest. I'm really interested to hear your response to that game. But Ule now wants to present true crime documentaries on Netflix as well. So this is like the speed that things are developing with, right? So what will you be doing next week? I don't know. Let's look a bit further. Entertainment was very important, as I said. So the first group that we did was actually to the right. Clouseau, Belgian band. Very big in my time, like mid-90s. Then we did K3. K3, they are Belgian, again, a pop band for little girls. They are in a VR game, by the way. So you can free them from this pyramid where they are captured, and you have to free them, and in the end, you can dance with them. And all the kids that do that game, they say that they dance with the real K3. Reno de Groot, you might not know, Coloré, he's an upcoming DJ in Berlin. He created his own metaverse because he wants to share his views on music with more than only the music. He wants to make you part of his universe, which is now called metaverse, who cares? In the background, you see some famous DJs. Wolfpack, I think they are number 8 in the list of DJs worldwide currently. This is a Thai project. And these Thai people approached us. They wanted to organize a metaverse concert. And this metaverse concert sold 20 million tickets for between 10 and 100 euros each. There you have your production budget, right? You think it's not happening? Well, in sports, in 2021, the Dutch fans couldn't visit the Dutch team on National Fan Day. Problem. No problem, because the Dutch football players would visit you at home and you could dance with them and do a celebration lap. PSV from Eindhoven, not the country but the city where we are situated, has a big fan cam where you can select the players and then a video is generated of you together with the players. And that's what you get, not a picture, but a video, where you play a role in that video and the players you selected. There's no way we could pre-produce all those videos, so they have to be generated on the fly as well. And then in the front, we have the Spanish goalies. We took our studio and oh, I forgot your name, Miss Van Hove. Florence, yes. So Florence told you we have the only mobile volumetric capture studio in the world. The team flew to Madrid, but the studio went by truck. And we built it up in 4 hours, filmed the Spanish national team, and then went back. And you can imagine if we want to film Mbappé from France, it's more expensive for him to come to Eindhoven for 4 hours than for the entire team to go to Paris for a week, right? Living history, which is basically my favorite, I have to admit. It's about telling history, historical stories. So back there you see people from Wezen. In the front you see people from Deventer. You see a French mailman from the 18th century. You see a Dutch nurse from the Second World War. In the background, I think that's also Second World War. We do a lot of stories where if you tell them on the location where they happened, it's a completely different story than when you see it on YouTube or on television. So that's also a way to use these real people. So you might think, this is the research that came out of the research program that we did. And it's a validated test. It's called the ITC SOAPy test. I don't know if it's on there somewhere. But you see that volumetric capture, it's not the best of everything. And nothing is the best of everything, thank God, because that shows that it's real. But very important is, and in VR, you know, people say, yeah, interesting, but I get nausea in VR, so it's not for me. What you see is that if they meet a volumetric person in VR, nausea is gone. This is something really interesting that we found, is that once you are in VR, and you know that you are in VR, you see a space and you might like it or you might not like it, but once you see a person, that space becomes not VR, it's just real. And that sounds really funny, but it makes a difference. So the trainings that we organize now in VR, we always put people in there, so we can train soft skills now. Okay. This is the one of the last projects that I want to talk about. It's the imaginary friend. Imaginary friend is a story about a little boy. The little boy has anxiety issues. And he invents an imaginary friend, and that's you, the user. You are his friend. You will help him chase the monsters under his bed, help him when the class laughs at him because he has an imaginary friend, because you know you're real, but the class doesn't believe him. His father doesn't believe him. The whole world thinks he's crazy. And you help him deal with all that. And you find out why he needs you. And we even had people coming out of that VR experience saying, yeah, I know in the experience I was the imaginary friend, but from now on, that boy is my imaginary friend. And this tells a little bit about the power of storytelling that you can have in VR once you put in real people. So your story is key. The technology will follow. Don't wait for the tech guys to solve all the issues. Start telling stories using your imagination. For example, if you want to stay really close to home, you could have live holograms in TV shows. That's not something for over 5 years. We can do that today. But we need to find out when to use live holograms in TV shows, or what impact they have. Is it better or worse, or like all the storytelling details that we need to find out. It's not about the technology. Technology will follow. We could reuse the media archives that we have. You could be in Mariupol before it was in shatters. And you could have a volumetric person walking through old Mariupol, a volumetric person of today, and then transfer the image, the background image, to Mariupol today. Now that has impact. That explains what is happening. We had this huge show in the Netherlands on television, national television, for people to give money, right, to the Ukraine. And what we could have done, we didn't do it, what we could have done was to have the talk show hosts sit in the rubble in the Ukraine. Well, not live, but as a live hologram. And then you see what kind of impact these new technologies can have on storytelling once we start thinking about using 3D assets, like volumetric. If you remember anything of today, remember that there will be a transition from 2D to 3D, and that your story is key, and that the technology will follow. Thank you.
So, thank you very much, Natasja, for this presentation. I would have loved to have an imaginary friend just as that little boy. I would have been a much better person now. So, I'm sure a lot of people here have a lot of questions to ask you. I have personally been really thrilled about this behind-the-scenes virtual reality with humans. So, I just let the audience speak. Who needs a microphone? We have 3 different microphones circulating here, so please feel free to raise your hand. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm just diving right in. What time frame you think 3D engines will have caught up to be on par with real humans?
What you see now is about developments going really fast, right? You have the meta-humans. Meta-human faces are already very good for a generic new person, but to recreate you, they're not there yet. And you will need much more for that, and you will probably use volumetric as some at some stage of generating an existing person that we all know into a virtual version. So the meta-humans first need to develop full body motion that is believable. That will take 2 years, 3 years. Then the same amount for them to recreate real people, existing people. 5 years? That's my guess.
Just to get like a couple of days ago or a week ago, Unreal Engine 5.2 came out.
Yeah. Yeah, but still, it's about my movement, right? So you can't copy that into there. So that's one big thing that's missing now. Like if I put, Memphis Depay is my favorite soccer player. If I have him on stage here, the way he moves, I would recognize him out of 1,000 people because of his movement. And they are not able to copy that at this point. So that's why I think 5 years before we see it applied.
Thank you for your question. So can you give us an idea about the cost of this type of projects nowadays in terms of time and also storage requirements and budget in general? And you talk about metaverse. Is this stored in a blockchain or in a decentralized network? Where are you storing this data?
So we are storing this data locally. Because uploading it to the cloud takes more time than actually rendering it. We have on-site 160 terabytes, and it's full all the time. That's the raw data. Then you start processing, and in the end, it works on a mobile phone. So it goes like this. We have 48 cameras. With a 4K resolution per camera times 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second if you want. So if you multiply that out, you will see that the raw data is really, really large. But the computing system that's in between there reduces that a lot. So when we started, we actually opened 3 months before COVID hit. It's a really great time to be a startup. When we started then, 3 minutes of volumetric was 1.2 gigabytes. And now we can do the 3 minutes without you seeing any difference, without any loss of quality, in under 200 megabytes. So that's on the storage side. Then on the cost side, it's expensive depending on your context, right? What is your alternative? Is your alternative Mbappé coming to, yeah. So, that really depends. It's really hard to say. The processing takes a lot of time, so all that processing time needs to be taken into account. Can't do it in the cloud yet. Why not? Well, simply because there aren't enough projects. If we have enough projects, we know how to build it for the rendering in the cloud, but we don't do it yet because we still have capacity in the studio. So why then go to the cloud? If we go to the cloud, we call Amazon. We say, can you upload these 160 terabytes? So they will drive by with 2 cars and each have a 80 terabyte NAS. And they promise that they will have this data of ours transferred to the cloud in 2 days, which is like the most efficient process. So it's like mind-boggling at the moment, but these are all technology issues, and they will be solved over the coming years. So, yes, it's expensive, depending.
Do we have more questions?
I have a question.
Okay, please, feel free.
Could anyone see using volumetric video in traditional media at this point in time? Nobody. I thought so as well. And then Studio 100 visited us. And they said, yeah, well, we have this show called Gamekeepers. It's for kids. And we want to create this scene where somebody is going down a roller coaster in a computer game on his rollerblades. And we thought we could use volumetric for that. And I'm like, well, the quality of volumetric is not good enough for television. No, 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 it is. Because we have a shot where there's speed in there, because he's going down the roller coaster. And the close-ups we do with the traditional chroma key, but the mid shots and the wide shots, we can't do those, because we can't have enough distance in the chroma key studio. So that's where we are going to use the volumetric video. And they aired that last November. So yes, it is already happening.
Thank you very much, Natasja.